Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UE's Liberator and watched through the main screen as thousands of human warships filled the space around them. The sight made his heart race. Never in human history had so many ships gathered in one place. The fleet stretched out in every direction, far beyond what his eyes could see. "Final count is complete, Commander," said Lisa Blake, walking up beside him. She held a data pad in her hands, but Jake could see the worry in her eyes. 700,000 ships, just like we planned. Every battleship, cruiser, destroyer, and fighter that Earth and the colonies could build. Jake nodded slowly. 3 years ago, none of this would have been possible. 3 years ago, humans were still a young species, trying to find their place among the stars. Then the Zephyrians came. The first attack hit New Texas colony without warning. The alien ships appeared out of nowhere and destroyed everything. 2 million people died in less than an hour. The humans who survived said the aliens didn't even try to talk. They just started shooting Dot. After New Texas came Eden Prime, then Harmony Station, then New California. Each time, the Zephyrian Empire sent more ships. Each time, they killed more humans. The attacks always followed the same pattern. No warning, no mercy, no survivors if they could help it. Earth's leaders tried to make peace. They sent messages to the Zephyrian homeworld, asking for talks. The aliens sent back only one reply: "Your species will be removed from the galaxy. Resistance is useless." That message changed everything. President Rodriguez called for total war mobilization. Every factory on Earth stopped making civilian goods and started building warships. Every colony did the same. Humans worked day and night, turning their peaceful worlds into giant weapons factories. Jake remembered those dark days. His own brother died defending Mars Station when the Zephyrians attacked the inner system. His sister lost her husband at a battle of Jupiter's moons. Every human family had lost someone to the alien war machine. "Are you ready for this?" Lisa asked him quietly. Jake looked at her. Lisa had been his friend since they were kids in the Space Academy. She lost her parents when the aliens hit Earth's orbital stations. Like everyone else in the fleet, she had personal reasons for being here. "I've been ready for 3 years," he said, "ever since they killed my brother." On the other side of the galaxy, High Commander Vexthal sat in his command chair aboard the Zephyrian flagship Dominion's Fist. The alien leader was tall and thin, with gray skin and yellow eyes that glowed in the dim light of the bridge. His species had ruled this part of the galaxy for over 1,000 years. "The human pests continue to resist," reported his aide, Admiral Zix Mora. "Our scouts report they are building more ships in their remaining systems." Vexthal made a sound. That might have been laughter. "Let them build. We have destroyed 17 different species in the past century. Humans are no different. They are weak, divided, and their technology is primitive compared to ours." "But sir," Zix Mora said carefully, "some of our intelligence reports suggest they are building far more ships than we expected. The numbers seem impossible." "Impossible?" Vexthal's yellow eyes narrowed. "Are you telling me that a species that has been in space for less than 200 years poses a threat to the Zephyrian Empire?" Zix Mora looked uncomfortable. "I am only reporting what our spies have told us. They claim the humans have over 500,000 ships." 500,000? Vexthal stood up from his chair. "Our greatest fleet has only 200,000 vessels. You are telling me these primitive humans have built more than twice that number?" "I am only reporting what I have been told, sir." Vexthal waved a clawed hand in dismissal. "Your spies are seeing civilian ships and counting them as warships. Or perhaps the humans are building fake ships to scare us. Either way, it does not matter. We have conquered 47 worlds in this galaxy. We have destroyed species far more advanced than the humans. They will fall like all the others. Back in the Sol system, Jake watched as the last group of ships moved into position. The human fleet was arranged in perfect formation, with the largest battleships at the center and smaller vessels forming protective rings around them. Each ship was painted in the dark blue and silver colors of the United Earth Space Force. All captains are reporting ready, Lisa announced. The fleet is prepared for jump. Jake thought about Earth, floating somewhere behind them in the inner system. Most people there didn't know about this mission. The government had kept it secret to prevent panic. Only the military leaders and ship crews knew that humanity was about to gamble everything on one massive attack. Open a channel to all ships. Jake ordered. The communication officer nodded. Channel open, sir. Jake took a deep breath. 700,000 ships. 700,000 captains and crews, all looking to him for leadership, all ready to die if necessary to save their species. This is Commander Morrison to all ships of the United Earth Fleet. For 3 years, the Zephyrian Empire has attacked our worlds without mercy. They have killed our families, destroyed our colonies, and sworn to wipe humanity from the galaxy. Today, we show them what happens when they push humans too far. He paused, looking out at the vast fleet surrounding him. We are not the same species. That first met the Zephyrians 3 years ago. We are stronger now. We are united, and we are angry. Today, we take the fight to them. Today, we show the galaxy that humanity will not go quietly into the night. The communication channel filled with cheers from hundreds of thousands of human voices. All ships, prepare for hyperspace jump. Set course for Zephyrian space. It's time to end this war. Outside, the stars began to stretch and blur as 700,000 human warships disappeared into hyperspace, heading toward the heart of the Zephyrian Empire. 3 days passed in the cold darkness of hyperspace. The human fleet moved like a ghost through the space between stars, invisible to normal sensors. Commander Jake Morrison walked the halls of the U Liberator, checking on his crew and trying to stay calm. The ship's corridors buzzed with quiet activity. Soldiers cleaned their weapons for the 100th time. Engineers ran final checks on the engines. Everyone knew they were getting close to enemy territory. Commander Morrison to the bridge, came the announcement over the ship's speakers. Jake hurried to the command center, where he found Lisa Blake standing over a holographic display showing the fleet's position. Thousands of tiny blue dots represented human ships, all moving in perfect formation through the void. We're approaching the Zephyrian border, Lisa reported. Commander Kyle Brooks and his scout ships are already in position. Jake nodded. Kyle was one of their best pilots, leading 50 of the fastest ships in the fleet. His job was to go ahead and make sure the path was clear for the main force. Any sign of enemy patrols? Jake asked. None yet. The Zephyrians seem to think their borders are safe. They have no idea we're coming. On the far edge of Zephyrian space, Kyle Brooks sat in the pilot seat of his stealth ship, the U.E.'s Shadow. His vessel was painted black and covered with special materials that made it nearly invisible to alien sensors. Behind him, 49 other scout ships stayed hidden in the darkness between stars. This is Kyle to all scout units, he whispered into his radio. We're crossing into enemy space now. Remember, stay quiet and stay hidden. If they spot us, the whole mission fails. The scout ships slipped across the invisible line that marked the border of the Zephyrian Empire. Kyle held his breath as they passed the first alien sensor station. The station was a massive metal structure covered in spinning radar dishes and glowing antennas. It should have detected them immediately, but the human ships passed by like shadows, their new stealth technology, keeping them invisible. Kyle smiled grimly. The aliens had no idea what was coming. Back on the main fleet, Dr. Amy Foster stood in the science lab, monitoring the stealth systems that kept 700,000 ships hidden from enemy sensors. The technology was brand new, developed in secret over the past year. How does it work? Asked Captain Ryan Hayes, who had come to check on the equipment. Amy pointed to a complex diagram on her computer screen. Normal stealth technology tries to hide one ship at a time. But we discovered something interesting. The more ships you have using the same stealth system, the stronger the effect becomes. Ryan frowned. That doesn't make sense. More ships should be easier to detect, not harder. That's what everyone thought, Amy said with a slight smile. But quantum mechanics doesn't always follow common sense. When you have enough ships all using the same quantum masking frequency, they create a field that bends space around them. Instead of hiding individual ships, we're hiding the entire fleet inside a bubble of twisted space-time. And the Zephyrians have never seen anything like this? No species has ever tried to build a fleet this large. The technology only works when you have hundreds of thousands of ships working together. Most civilizations would consider it impossible. On the Zephyrian homeworld of Kethvor, High Commander Vexthul was enjoying a quiet meal when his aide burst into the dining hall. Admiral Zixmora looked panicked, his yellow eyes wide with fear. "Sir, we have a problem," Zixmora said, breathing hard from running. Vexthul set down his cup of bitter alien tea. "What kind of problem?" "Our border stations are reporting strange readings. There are gravitational distortions moving through our space." "Gravitational distortions?" Vexthul stood up slowly. "What does that mean?" "We're not sure, sir." "The readings suggest something massive is moving through our territory, but our sensors can't see anything there." Vexthul felt a cold chill run down his spine. In all his years of military service, he had never heard of anything that could create gravitational distortions while remaining invisible to sensors. "How massive?" he asked quietly. Zixmora looked at his datapad, then looked up with frightened eyes. "Sir, the readings suggest an object the size of a small moon. But it's moving at faster than light speed and following a course directly toward our core systems." "A small moon?" Vexthul's voice was barely a whisper. "That's impossible. No ship could be that large. Unless it's not one ship, sir." The two aliens stared at each other in the sudden silence. Outside the palace windows, the lights of the Zephyrian capital city twinkled peacefully, unaware that death was approaching from the darkness between stars. Meanwhile, Kyle Brooks and his scout ships had penetrated deep into enemy territory. They passed abandoned mining stations and empty trade routes. The Zephyrians had pulled most of their forces back to attack human colonies, leaving their own space lightly defended. "This is almost too easy," Kyle muttered to himself. He opened a secure communication channel back to the main fleet. "Shadow to Liberator. Path is clear for approach to primary targets. Enemy forces are minimal in border regions." Jake Morrison received the message with mixed feelings. On one hand, it was good news that they wouldn't face immediate resistance. On the other hand, it meant the Zephyrians were confident enough to leave their borders undefended. That suggested they had something bigger waiting deeper in their territory. "All ships, prepare for final approach," Jake announced to the fleet. "We jump to target positions in 1 hour." The next hour passed slowly. Throughout the human fleet, crews made final preparations. Weapons were charged and ready. Shields were brought online. Pilots climbed into their fighter cockpits. Lisa Blake stood beside Jake on the bridge, watching the countdown timer. "Are you nervous?" she asked. Jake thought about the question. "Terrified," he admitted, "but also excited. For 3 years, we've been playing defense. Today, we go on the attack. What if we're wrong? What if they have more ships than we think? Then we die fighting," Jake said simply. "But at least we'll die trying to save our species." The countdown reached 0, All ships, execute jump, Jake ordered. Reality twisted around them as 700,000 human warships jumped out of hyperspace simultaneously. In an instant, the largest fleet in galactic history appeared in 57 different star systems throughout Zephyrian space. On Kethver, every alarm in the planet's defense network began screaming at once. The gravitational distortions had suddenly become visible as hundreds of human ships appeared in orbit around the world. High Commander Vexthal ran to the military command center, where his officers were staring at their screens in disbelief. "Report," he shouted. "Sir," one officer said in a shaking voice, "human ships have appeared in every major system in the Empire. The computer estimates 700,000 vessels." Vexthal felt the floor seem to drop away beneath his feet. 700,000? That's impossible. No species has ever built that many ships. The readings are confirmed, sir. They're surrounding all our major worlds, our military bases, our industrial centers. They're everywhere. For the first time in his long military career, High Commander Vexthal felt real fear. The humans weren't just fighting back. They had built a fleet large enough to destroy the entire Zephyrian Empire in a single coordinated attack. "Send a message to all our forces," he ordered. "Tell them to prepare for battle. And send a priority signal to the Galactic Council. The galaxy needs to know what's happening here." In space above Kethver, Jake Morrison looked down at the alien world through his ship's view screen. The planet was beautiful, with blue oceans and green continents. It reminded him of Earth. "All ships report ready," Lisa announced. "We have them completely surrounded." Jake nodded and opened a communication channel to the entire human fleet. "This is Commander Morrison. Today, we show the galaxy that humanity will not be destroyed. Today, we take our place among the stars." The moment the human fleet appeared, panic spread across the Zephyrian Empire like wildfire. On every world, in every star system, alien civilians looked up at their skies and saw human warships blocking out the stars. Captain Ryan Hayes commanded the UE's Thunderbolt as it led the attack on Morgith, the Zephyrian Military Academy world. The planet was covered with training facilities and weapon testing ranges. Thousands of young alien soldiers were learning to fight there. "Sir, the planet's defense stations are powering up their weapons," reported his weapons officer, Lieutenant Danny Clark. Ryan nodded calmly. "Let them fire first. Show them what happens when they shoot at humans." The Zephyrian defense platforms opened fire with everything they had. Bright beams of energy lanced out from the planet's surface, striking the human ships with enough power to destroy a small city. The attacks had worked perfectly against human colonies for 3 years, but the energy beams struck the human shields and simply disappeared. The advanced defensive systems absorbed the alien weapons' fire and converted it into power for the ship's own systems. The harder the Zephyrians shot, the stronger the human shields became. "Return fire," Ryan ordered quietly. The U's Thunderbolt's main guns spoke once. A single pulse of brilliant white light shot down from space and struck the largest defense platform. The alien structure, built to withstand the most powerful weapons in the galaxy, simply vanished. Not destroyed, not damaged, completely gone, leaving only empty space where it had been. The other defense platforms stopped shooting immediately. On the Zephyrian homeworld of Kethvar, High Commander Vexthal stood in the planetary command center, watching reports pour in from across the Empire. Every screen showed the same thing: human ships appearing, alien defenses firing, and then alien weapons simply failing to work. "How is this possible?" he whispered to Admiral Zixmora. "Our weapons are the most advanced in the galaxy. They should be tearing those human ships apart." Zixmora's hands shook as he read the reports. "Sir, it appears the humans have developed some kind of adaptive shielding. Their defenses get stronger when we attack them. Adaptive shielding? Vexthul's yellow eyes narrowed. That's impossible. The physics don't work that way. The physics work, however, the humans want them to work, apparently, Zixmora said grimly. And sir, there's something else. Our weapons experts are saying the human guns use some kind of matter disintegration technology. Whatever they hit doesn't just explode, it ceases to exist. Vexthul felt sick. For 1,000 years, the Zephyrian Empire had been the most powerful military force in the galaxy. They had conquered dozens of worlds, destroyed entire civilizations, and never faced a real challenge. Now they were being defeated by a species they had considered primitive. Send a message to the human fleet, he ordered. Tell them we want to negotiate. Sir, they're not responding to our calls. They're broadcasting their own message on all frequencies. A new voice filled the command center, speaking in accented but clear Zephyrian. The translation computer identified the speaker as Commander Lara Stone of the UES Retribution. People of the Zephyrian Empire, the human woman said, her voice calm and cold. For 3 years, your leaders have attacked human worlds without mercy. You have killed our families, destroyed our homes, and sworn to wipe us from the galaxy. Today, that ends. The message continued as Lavrastone's ship hung, in orbit over the industrial world of Krevter. Below her, alien factory complexes stretched to the horizon, building the weapons that had been used to murder human civilians. We did not want this war, Lavra continued. We tried to make peace. Your leaders chose destruction instead. Now you will see what happens when humans decide to fight back. The UES Retribution's main guns targeted the largest weapons factory on the planet's surface. The building was the size of a small city, protected by energy shields and defended by hundreds of automated turrets. It was considered impossible to destroy. Laura's ship fired once. The factory complex didn't explode. It simply wasn't there anymore. In its place was a perfectly smooth crater, as if the building had never existed at all. This is our offer, Lavra broadcast to the entire planet. Complete surrender. Immediate withdrawal from all human territories. Return of all human prisoners. Accept these terms, or we will remove every military installation in the Zephyrian Empire. On Kethver, High Commander Vexthul watched the broadcast with growing horror. The human weapon had erased an entire factory complex without leaving any debris. The technology was beyond anything the Zephyrians understood. Sir, reported a communications officer, we're receiving similar ultimatums from human forces at every major world in the Empire. They're demanding complete surrender within 12 hours. Vexthul looked around the command center at his officers. These were the best military minds in the Zephyrian Empire, aliens who had planned the conquest of half the galaxy. Now they all looked terrified. What are our options? He asked. We could try to negotiate, suggested Zixmora. Perhaps offer them territory in exchange for peace. Or we could fight, said another officer. Gather our remaining fleets and attack their homeworld. Vexthul considered both options. The Zephyrian Empire still had over 200,000 warships scattered across the galaxy. If they could unite them into a single force, they might be able to break through the human blockade and strike at Earth itself. Send orders to all fleet commanders, he decided. Tell them to abandon their current positions and rally at the nexus point. We'll show these humans what happens when they threaten the Zephyrian Empire. But even as he gave the orders, Vexthul felt doubt creeping into his mind. The humans had appeared simultaneously in 57 different star systems. Their ships used technology that seemed to violate the laws of physics, and their weapons could erase matter itself. For the first time in his life, High Commander Vexthul wondered if the Zephyrian Empire might actually lose a war. Across the galaxy, Other alien civilizations watched the unfolding crisis with growing alarm. The Centauri Republic's parliament held an emergency session as reports of the human fleet reached their capital world. 700,000 ships? Asked President Valdres, a tall alien with blue skin and silver hair. That's more than our entire military has ever built. The reports are confirmed, said his military advisor. Human forces have surrounded every major Zephyrian world. They appear to be demanding complete surrender. President Valdres felt a chill. The Centauri Republic had been secretly supporting the Zephyrian attacks on human colonies, providing intelligence and supplies. If the humans discovered that cooperation, they might be next. Recall all our ships to defend our core worlds, he ordered, and send a message to the human government. Tell them the Centauri Republic wants to discuss peaceful relations. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. The vegan collective's Queen Hive Mind began emergency ship production, trying to match the human fleet's numbers. The Aquarian Federation's Council of Admirals debated whether to offer the humans an alliance or prepare for war. None of them had realized that the young human species possessed such incredible military power. The galaxy's balance of power had shifted overnight, and every civilization was scrambling to figure out their new place in the order. On the bridge of the U's Liberator, Jake Morrison received reports from across the human fleet. Every target had been secured. Every Zephyrian world was now under human control. The operation had gone perfectly. Sir, reported Lisa Blake, we're receiving surrender offers from 17 different alien governments. None of them want to fight us after seeing what happened to the Zephyrians. Jake nodded grimly. Good. Fear will keep them in line better than treaties. What about the Zephyrians themselves? High Command is still refusing to surrender. Jake looked at the tactical display, showing Zephyrian fleet movements. The aliens were gathering their remaining ships at a place called the Nexus Point, probably. Planning one final attack. Let them come, he said quietly. It's time to show the galaxy what happens when someone tries to destroy humanity. The largest battle in galactic history was about to begin. The Nexus Point was a region of space where several major hyperspace routes crossed together. It was the perfect place for the Zephyrian Empire to gather their remaining forces for one final attack. High Commander Vexthal stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching as alien warships appeared out of hyperspace. Current count is 190,000 ships, reported Admiral Zixmora. More are arriving every hour. Vexthal nodded grimly. It was the largest Zephyrian fleet ever assembled, drawn from every corner of the Empire. Ships that had been patrolling distant borders, defending trade routes, and occupying conquered worlds, all had been called back for this final battle. Are you sure this will work? Asked Admiral Krelvash, commander of the Second Fleet. Humans may have superior technology, Vexthal replied, but they are still outnumbered in this sector. If we can break through their lines and reach their homeworld, we can force them to surrender. But even as he spoke, Vexthal felt uncertainty gnawing at his mind. The human weapons had destroyed Zephyrian defenses like they were made of paper. Their shields had absorbed the most powerful energy beams without taking damage. What if superior numbers weren't enough? On Earth, President Helen Rodriguez stood before the global parliament, addressing representatives from every nation and colony. The chamber was packed with worried faces, all waiting to hear the truth about humanity's secret military buildup. My fellow humans, she began, for 3 years we have told you that we were building ships to defend our colonies. That was not entirely true. We were building ships to save our species. A murmur ran through the chamber. The president held up her hand for silence. The attacks on our worlds were not random, she continued. They were part of a coordinated plan by multiple alien civilizations to destroy humanity before we could become a threat. The Zephyrians were just the ones who pulled the trigger. She activated a holographic display showing intelligence reports and intercepted communications. The Centauri Republic provided target lists of our most important colonies. The Vegan Collective shared sensor data about our ship movements. The Aquarian Federation supplied weapons technology. They all worked together to plan our extinction. The chamber erupted in angry voices. Representatives shouted questions and demands for action. President Rodriguez waited for the noise to die down. But they made one critical mistake, she said with a cold smile. They underestimated what humans can do when we're fighting for survival. They thought we were weak because we preferred peace. They forgot that the most dangerous animal is the one that's been cornered. In the depths of space, the human fleet began moving toward the nexus point. 700,000 ships traveling in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming in the light of distant stars. Admiral Danny Clark commanded the advance force, 50,000 of humanity's fastest ships. "Sir," reported his communications officer, "we're detecting massive Zephyrian fleet movements ahead. It looks like they're planning to make a stand." Danny nodded calmly. "Good, let's finish this once and for all." The first contact came when Danny's scouts detected the edge of the Zephyrian fleet. The alien ships were arranged in a defensive formation, with their largest battleships at the center, and smaller vessels forming protective screens around them. "They're trying to use classic military tactics," Danny observed. "Concentrate firepower, protect the big ships, overwhelm us with numbers." "Will it work?" asked his tactical officer. Danny smiled grimly. "They're about to find out the human military doctrine is a little different." The battle began when the Zephyrians opened fire at maximum range. Nearly 200,000 alien ships fired simultaneously, filling space with deadly energy beams and missile salvos. It was the most concentrated firepower ever unleashed in galactic history. The human ships didn't even slow down. Their shields absorbed the entire attack and converted it into power for their own systems. The alien weapons made the human fleet stronger, not weaker. "Return fire," Danny ordered. The human response was surgical and devastating. Instead of firing at random, each human ship targeted a specific enemy vessel. 50,000 precisely aimed shots struck 50,000 Zephyrian ships. Every single target simply vanished, erased from existence by the human disintegration beam's dot in less than 30 seconds. The Zephyrian fleet lost 50,000 ships without destroying a single human vessel. "Impossible," whispered Admiral Zix Mora. "On the Zephyrian flagship, how can they be so accurate?" High Commander Vex Stoll watched in horror as his fleet was systematically destroyed. The human ships moved like a single organism, each one knowing exactly where to shoot for maximum effect. Their coordination was perfect, their weapons were unstoppable, and their shields were impenetrable. "Sir, we're losing ships faster then." "We can count them," reported the fleet's tactical officer. "At this rate, the entire fleet will be gone in less than an hour." Vexthal felt his world collapsing around him. The Zephyrian Empire had never lost a major battle. They had conquered 47 worlds, destroyed entire civilizations, and ruled this part of the galaxy for 1,000 years. Now they were being defeated by a species they had considered primitive. "Order all ships to retreat," he said quietly. "Sir?" "You heard me. Order full retreat. Save whatever ships we can." But it was too late. The human fleet had surrounded the Zephyrians completely. There was nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Captain Steve Martinez, commanding the UES Retribution, led a squadron of human battleships in a devastating attack on the Zephyrian command ships. "Target their flagship," Steve ordered. "End this war." The UES Retribution's main guns charged, up, gathering energy for a killing blow. But before they could fire, something unexpected happened. High Commander Vexthal's flagship lowered its shields and stopped shooting. This is High Commander Vixthil of the Zephyrian Empire, Kama. Transmission on all frequencies. I surrender. I order all Zephyrian forces to lay down their arms immediately. The battle stopped as suddenly as it had begun. Across the battlefield, Zephyrian ships powered down their weapons and lowered their shields. The great alien fleet that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries was defeated. Captain Steve Martinez opened a communication channel to the Zephyrian flagship. High Commander, this is Captain Martinez of the UES Retribution. You will order your forces to withdraw from all human territories immediately. Any ship that refuses will be destroyed. Understood, Vexthil replied, his voice hollow with defeat. The Zephyrian Empire surrenders unconditionally. News of the surrender spread across the galaxy within hours. On the Centauri Republic's capital world, President Valdris called an emergency session of Parliament. The Zephyrian Empire has fallen, he announced to the shocked representatives. Human forces have destroyed their entire military in a single battle. We must assume they will turn their attention to us next. Similar panic gripped the other alien civilizations. The vegan collective's Queen Hive Mind ordered the immediate construction of defensive fortifications around their homeworld. The Aquarian Federation's admirals debated whether to fight or surrender, but the humans had other plans. Commander Jake Morrison, still aboard the UESA Liberator, received a priority message from Earth. President Rodriguez appeared on his view screen, looking tired but determined. Commander Morrison, you and your fleet have done something incredible. You've not only saved humanity, you've changed the balance of power in the galaxy forever. What are your orders, Madam President? Jake asked. Come home, she said simply. It's time for the galaxy to see what humanity looks like when we're not being threatened. The message was broadcast across the galaxy on all frequencies. Every alien civilization heard President Rodriguez's words. The human fleet will return to Earth. We have no desire to conquer other worlds or rule other species. We fought only to defend ourselves. But let this be a warning to anyone who thinks humans are weak. We are not. We are dangerous when threatened, but we prefer to live in peace. The Battle of Nexus Point had lasted exactly 47 minutes. In that time, the human fleet had destroyed over 150,000 Zephyrian ships, while losing only 12 of their own. It was the most one-sided victory in galactic history. As the human fleet began its journey back to Earth, the galaxy began to understand that everything had changed. Humanity was no longer the young, weak species that could be pushed around by older civilizations. They had become the most powerful military force in known space, and they had chosen to go home instead of using that power to conquer others. That choice would reshape galactic politics for generations to come. 6 months after the Battle of Nexus Point, the galaxy had become a very different place. Commander Jake Morrison stood on the observation deck of the U's Liberator, looking down at the planet that had once been the heart of the Zephyrian Empire. Where alien warships once patrolled, human vessels now kept the peace. The former Zephyrian worlds had become human protectorates. The alien civilians were free to live their lives as they always had, but human administrators now ran the governments. And human soldiers maintained order. It was a gentler occupation than anyone had expected. The morning reports, sir, said Captain Lisa Blake, approaching with a data pad in her hand. All sectors are quiet. No incidents to report. Jake nodded, taking the pad and scanning the information. Trade was flowing again between the former Zephyrian worlds. The humans had repaired the damage from the war and were helping the alien civilians rebuild their economies. Any word from the other governments? He asked. The Centauri Republic wants to discuss a new trade agreement, Lisa replied. The vegan collective is offering to share their medical technology. The Aquarian Federation wants to establish an embassy on Earth. Jake almost smiled. 6 months ago, Those same governments had been secretly supporting the Zephyrian attacks on human colonies. Now they were desperate to become humanity's allies. "What does Earth want us to do about these offers?" he asked. "President Rodriguez says we should listen to what they have to say, but not trust them completely. The intelligence reports show they're all building more ships, probably in case they need to defend themselves from us." Jake looked back at the planet below. The Zephyrian homeworld was beautiful, with blue oceans and green continents that reminded him of Earth. But now it was a constant reminder of what happened when someone tried to destroy humanity. In another part of the galaxy, Captain Lisa Blake's sister, Commander Sarah Blake, was establishing the new Galactic Defense Initiative. Her flagship, the U-East Guardian, patrolled the space lanes between different alien civilizations, preventing conflicts before they could start. "Ma'am," reported her communications officer, "we're receiving a distress call from a Centauri cargo ship. They're being attacked by pirates near the Vega system." Sarah stood up from her command chair. "Set course for the Vega system. Maximum speed." The U.E.S. Guardian and its escort ships jumped to hyperspace, racing to help the alien civilians. It was exactly the kind of mission the Galactic Defense Initiative was designed for, protecting the innocent and maintaining peace. When they arrived at the attack site, they found 3 pirate ships surrounding a damaged Centauri freighter. The pirates were members of a species called the Raxons, known for their violent raids on civilian shipping. "This is Commander Sarah Blake of the United Earth Space Force," she broadcast to the pirate ships. "Release the civilian vessel immediately and surrender for processing." The lead pirate ship responded with weapons fire, trying to damage the human vessel. The energy beams struck the U.E.S. Guardian's shields and were absorbed harmlessly. "Wrong choice," Sarah said calmly. "Return fire." The Guardian's weapons spoke once. The pirate ship that had fired on them simply vanished, erased from existence by the human disintegration beam. The other 2 pirate vessels immediately stopped their attack and tried to flee. "Let them go," Sarah ordered. "But send their ship. Signatures to all human patrol vessels. If we see them attacking civilians again, we won't be so merciful." The rescued Centauri freighter captain thanked the humans repeatedly before continuing on his trade route. Word of the incident spread quickly through the galaxy's communication networks. The message was clear: humanity would protect innocent civilians, regardless of their species. On Earth, Dr. Amy Foster was working on the final piece of the puzzle that had made humanity's victory possible. In her laboratory deep beneath the planet's surface, she studied the quantum technology that had hidden 700,000 ships from enemy sensors. The key was understanding that space itself could be bent, she explained to a group of visiting scientists. Most civilizations tried to hide their ships by making them invisible to sensors. We learned to hide our ships by making the space around them invisible. One of the scientists, a young woman named Dr. Kelly Brown, raised her hand. "But how did you know it would work on such a large scale?" Amy smiled. "We didn't. It was a desperate gamble. But sometimes desperate times call for desperate measures." The truth was that humanity's rapid technological advancement had been driven by pure survival instinct. When faced with extinction, humans had pushed the boundaries of science further than any species before them. They had developed weapons that could erase matter, shields that grew stronger under attack, and stealth technology that bent the laws of physics. "Will you share this technology with other species?" asked another scientist. Amy's expression grew serious. "Some of it, yes. The medical advances, the peaceful applications, those we'll share freely. But the military technology stays with humanity. The galaxy has seen what happens when aggressive species get access to advanced weapons." Back in the former Zephyrian capital, High Commander Vextol sat in a small apartment, writing his memoirs. The once mighty alien leader had been allowed to retire in peace, but his empire was gone forever. "I underestimated them," he wrote in his journal. "We all did. We saw a young species that preferred peace and assumed they were weak. We forgot that the most dangerous predator is often the one that chooses not to hunt." He paused in his writing, looking out the window at human patrol ships moving across the sky. They could have destroyed us completely. They could have enslaved our worlds or slaughtered our people. Instead, they chose mercy. Perhaps that is the most frightening thing of all, not their weapons or their technology, but their ability to choose restraint when they hold absolute power. On the bridge of the U.S. Liberator, Jake Morrison received a message from Earth. President Rodriguez appeared on his view screen, looking much more relaxed than she had during the war. "Commander Morrison, I have news from the Galactic Council. They want to offer humanity a permanent seat on the ruling committee." Jake raised an eyebrow. "The same council that refused to help us when the Zephyrians were attacking our colonies? The very same. They've suddenly discovered that humanity deserves a voice in galactic politics." "What did you tell them?" President Rodriguez smiled. "I told them we'd think about it. The truth is, Jake, we don't need their permission to be involved in galactic affairs. We've already proven that humans can take care of themselves." Jake nodded, understanding the deeper meaning. The Galactic Council had ignored humanity when they were weak and begged for help. Now that humans had proven their strength, the Council wanted to bring them into the established power structure, not out of respect, but out of fear. "What are your orders, Madam President?" "Keep doing what you're doing. Maintain the peace, protect the innocent, and remind everyone that humanity is watching." As the months passed, the galaxy settled into its new reality. Trade routes reopened under human protection. Conflicts between different species were resolved through negotiation rather than warfare. The threat of human intervention kept the peace better than any treaty or alliance. Captain Ryan Hayes, now commanding a patrol squadron in the Outer Rim, sent regular reports back to Earth. "The pirates have mostly given up," he wrote. "Word has spread that attacking civilian ships brings swift human retaliation. Most of them have turned to legitimate trade instead. The galaxy's black market weapons dealers had also largely disappeared. With humanity controlling the most advanced military technology and refusing to sell it to other species, the arms trade had collapsed. Many former weapons manufacturers had converted their factories to produce civilian goods instead, but perhaps the most important change was in how the different species viewed each other. The old system of strong civilizations dominating weak ones had been shattered. Every species now knew that humanity was watching, and that humans had the power to intervene in any conflict. Dr. Kelly Brown, now working with Dr. Amy Foster on peaceful applications of quantum technology, made a discovery that would change everything. "Amy, look at this," she said excitedly, showing her mentor a complex equation on her computer screen. "What am I looking at?" Amy asked. "A way to use quantum field manipulation for faster-than-light communication. Real-time messages across the entire galaxy without the delay of hyperspace transmission." Amy's eyes widened. "That would revolutionize everything. Trade, diplomacy, emergency response. Imagine being able to coordinate relief efforts across hundreds of star systems in real time. Should we share this with the other species?" Amy thought carefully. "Yes, but slowly. We'll establish the network ourselves first, and gradually allow other civilizations to connect. That way we maintain control over the infrastructure." It was a pattern that would define humanity's role in the galaxy for generations to come. They had the power to conquer and rule, but they chose instead to guide and protect. They shared their peaceful technologies freely while keeping their weapons to themselves. They intervened in conflicts not to expand their territory, but to maintain stability. Commander Jake Morrison, now promoted to admiral, stood once again on the observation deck of the U.E.'s Liberator. The ship was orbiting Earth, preparing for the first galactic peace sum.